Nancy, how would you fund the airport tunnel so that it can be built as quickly as possible?
Thank you. I'll break the tradition and actually just answer the question. NC.ca, if you want to know about my stance on secondary suites and LRT and so on and so on. So the airport tunnel has to get built. It has to get built. This council has approved it time and time again. Alderman Hawkesworth, who hates it so much now, voted for it last June. But the problem is council forgot to fund it. And it is absolutely critical because, as we've heard, if it doesn't get funded now, it will be a $1.5 billion project later. So let's strip away the rhetoric, let's strip away the us and them, let's strip away calling 12 community association presidents a special interest group, and think about how to actually build it. So we put out a plan a month ago on how we would build it. It involved a little bit of debt financing. We didn't know about the $123 million in the MSI. That money's just sitting there, so it's not true to say we don't have the money. It is a $150 million project, not a $500 million project. The cost of doing nothing, as the administration has very clearly pointed out, is $350 million. $350 million in roadway improvements. So it's $150 million difference. We'll use the 123 from the MSI plus the $50 million the council has already set aside for this program. Fully funded. There's going to be some interest costs. I'm not going to lie to you. We're going to spend $25 or so million in interest over the next 10 years, $2.5 million a year. I hate that. I hate that. But this council has dropped the ball so badly. The good news is the money's there, we can get the shovels in the ground this year, and we can get this vital transportation link built.
Question for Mr. Hughes. What will you do to improve the city's life in terms of art and culture to turn Calgary to be a real world-class city like many others?
Right. Well, there's a group, I did a little plug here for YYC Vote, get on Twitter, hashtag YYC Vote. Excuse me, they talk about every time somebody says world class, there's somebody somewhere in Calgary drinking right now. So, but I'm an artist, I'm an abstract expressionist, and I'm a conceptualist. And I put on a show here in the city of Calgary called 1111. And I went to CADA and I said, could I have $1 per artist? I was asking for $1,111. Didn't get it. Went to the provincial government, didn't get any money. Went to the federal government, didn't get any money whatsoever. We got kicked out of the Art Gallery Calgary. It's a local institution that we fund from taxpayer dollars. And we were going to have nothing but Calgary artists there. So my personal experience has been somewhat negative with some of the arts communities and some of the arts funders. And I think that having specific dates for art funding has to change. The entire landscape of creativity and art in our city has changed dramatically. There are a tremendous number of gifted artists, but we have a lot of dollars going into the hands of art organizations that are not spending it wisely. And as a citizen and as a taxpayer, I want to see an artist and an art organization or an artist-run center do everything they possibly can to make it the best bang for the buck. So to take us into a world-class, drink it up boys, world-class city from an art perspective, we need to embrace our artists, we need to embrace the creativity in our city, which is phenomenal. So when we're looking at problems from a council perspective, we need to include a creative and innovative component to it, because right now, the way we are making decisions in this city, for me, I think we can do a lot better because of our addiction to doing it a certain way. 2010, things have changed. We need to embrace the different ways of making decisions and running our city. Thank you.
This is for Rick McIver. How would you manage the growing debt level of the city when the challenge is to balance that against new projects?
Thank you for the question. Well, one of the first things I do is what I've been doing all along, is by knowing when to say yes to good expenditures and saying no to inappropriate ones. We're going to have to go through a department by department review and look at our expenditures to manage that debt. We're going to have to take a particularly hard look at the EDMAX debt, has risen dramatically over the last few years, although the dividends to Calgarians has not risen at the same rate as the debt has. And we're going to apply some proper accounting principles, which means that you spend it when you've got it. You actually make financial decisions based on facts. And I'll give you an example of when I tried to get facts. I actually went out and got some expert advice on that airport tunnel in the last meeting. Somebody that said that they could build the 250 meters that we would need to go into the taxiway and the runway to get the airport, and that would come out. That's included in the $50 million that council's already had, and it was an independent estimate. So I asked council to say, well, let's send this to the administration and let's get the facts back next week so we see how good this thing is, and then we can put it out to tender. I have to tell you, my colleagues that are running for council both said, no, we won't allow you to have the facts. They voted against that. Those are the types of things I'll do. I'll go get good information based from experts, whether those experts are within the city and without, and I'll apply those to the financial situation facing Calgary today.
Mr. Stewart, regarding your homeless solution, what other forms of long-term supports are you going to put into place, i.e. drug and alcohol treatments and ongoing support?
Thank you. I was thinking of another use for the funds. I think you could toss one at those politicians who don't answer the question. I'm sitting up here, and I don't know how frustrated you are back there, but I'm seeing politicians playing that traditional game of, here's what I want to say, to hell with the question. So what was the question? I'm glad you asked me about affordable housing. I was the CEO of the Calgary Homeless Foundation. I provided leadership as we developed a 10-year plan to end homelessness in our city. We shifted the culture of that organization and the agencies in our city from managing homelessness, just keeping people warm in the wintertime and keeping them alive, to actually ending that plague on our community. Once we made that cultural shift, everything started to be easier. So there's a whole bunch of solutions to the homeless problem. Most of them are contained in that plan to end homelessness, and I'd be glad, although now I've used my minute, and I'm afraid the buns are going to start to fly. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is a conglomerate question. In 2001, Joe Clark was the parade marshal for the Pride Parade. Since then, a few aldermen and women have come out, but never the mayor. How many of you will be on Stephen Avenue for the Pride Parade next Sunday? And if the Gay Pride Day has been proclaimed by the mayor as an official day, I wonder what a lifestyle should be proclaimed as mayor. Will you try to proclaim this sexuality identity day?
Well, thank you very much for the question, and it has been my honor and privilege to have been the MLA for Calgary Buffalo. Calgary Buffalo represents downtown Calgary, and for the last 6 years, I have taken part in the Pride Parade. It will be my honor and privilege to take part in the Pride Parade again this year. Actually, I was the runner-up to be Pride Parade Marshal this year, to a much more deserving candidate, Tony Berry, who's in our GBLT community, who's out there singing and doing some really neat stuff in the community. So I deserve to come second. But nevertheless, I will be there. I will be proud of our GBLT community. I have stood for human rights and equality amongst all people, and our ability to have opportunities for everyone in this city, whether you're rich, poor, gay or straight, or whatever. That is one thing I will stand for and fight for, and in my city, everyone will get opportunities to succeed. And I will gladly be there at the
Okay, thanks. We're going to terminate the questions at this point. Thank you, candidates, for all of your wonderful answers. I'll turn it back over to Brian.
I thought there's limited applause to candidates, no applause for me, so thank you very much.
by the way, while the questions were being asked, that apparently Barb Higgins tweeted that she was at the Loving Indie Fest, so now we know the answer to that. We do have some interesting announcements to do before we hear from the candidates' closing 2 minutes, which is going to summarize their entire life's work and position in 120 seconds. But I would like to call upon Val Cave to tell us a little bit about the Calgary Leadership Forum and how you might participate. Let's hear from Val.